To celebrate Toastmasters Centennial, World Travelers Toastmasters Club has arranged, in collaboration with so many inspirational leaders and speakers, a 20-hour, 100-speaker speech marathon. Today, I am interviewing one of those inspirational speakers, Teresa Dukes. Welcome, Teresa. Thank you for sparing the time in your busy diary today.
Oh, it's an absolute honor and pleasure to be here. Thank you, Ram.
My first question, if I may, do you remember what happened on this particular date, the 30th of December, 1991?
No? The 30th of December, 1991.
At 6:35 a.m.
No.
I do
remember about this date?
I do apologize. I've been doing some research on you, Teresa. I've been watching some of your old speeches, and in one of the speeches, there you were landing in at Heathrow Airport with kids on both hands, and you gave the time 6:35. You said the 30th of December 1991. Does that ring a bell with you now?
Yes, it does. Oh my word. I have been in the country I got here in 1987, and I had taken a trip back to the US to visit my family, to visit my sister on Martha's Vineyard. And that was the day we returned home, and bedraggled and just wrinkled and exhausted with two kids, one under each shoulder, under each arm, right? Oh yes, that was a devastating day because you're flying back against time, aren't you? And I was so thankful that it was a good trip, even though I did have a little bit of a hiccup while we were in the airport, because that was the day I lost my son in the airport.
That's the one.
That's the one.
That's the one.
It's trauma. I blocked it out, right?
No.
So the trauma.
Tell us about this valuable lesson you learned on that day.
Oh my word. Do you know, it doesn't matter how many times I go back in my mind over that particular story. The thing that I take away the most from that is that life is precious. And it is so important to hold on to it with both hands, right? And my hand slipped, or his hand slipped from mine, my little boy, and he was only little. He was only like 6, I think, at that particular point in time. And in a second, he was gone, right? And I just will always remember looking behind me, thinking he's not there, what am I going to do? And then making a beeline towards the police officer that was at the end of the ramp. Yeah. So I always knew there was going to be somebody there to help me. And at that point, it wasn't so much that they helped me. My little boy came finding me. And I had this conversation with him just the other day. He says, Mom, I remember that. And he says, I lost you in the crowd. And all I thought to do was to look for the woman with red hair, because I knew I could find you because you had the red hair. And he's 39 years old now, okay? And he still remembers.
That is fantastic. That's a really good story. I really love that story. And you know, the amount of emotion in your speech, I was thinking.
Oh, yeah. And I still get that way when I think about it. I cannot tell that story without crying usually. The tears will come. So I try not to go into too much detail.
If you start crying, I'm going to hit the pause button. Thank you so much for sharing that story. Coaching. So you've taught so many people valuable skills using your coaching techniques. When did you make the change? So you haven't always been a coach, correct?
That is correct. No.
So what was your original vocation? And then why did you switch?
And why did I switch? My original vocation, I actually was an executive secretary And I worked within a corporation here in the UK called British Telecommunications.
Wow.
And at that point, I was going through a really hard time during my life at that point in that particular year. And I had to make a decision. I had to make a really big decision on whether I stayed in an abusive marriage or if I left. And there was this little individual that said to me, "Hey, if you want to find your voice, you need to go and find Toastmasters." And it was at that point that I went and I joined my first club. I walked through the door, I think it was in August 1999, Ipswich Electrifiers here in Ipswich. And the thing about that club was the minute I walked through the door, they made me feel like I was family. And they embraced me and they kept me safe, I think is what I would say. But, the minute that I found my voice, God, there was no stopping me at that point. Because once I have a dog that seems to have found his voice as well over here in the background. He said, "Let me out the door." But once I found my voice, I knew that I could do something. Do you want me to stop with him barking?
No,
Because
no, keep going.
yeah, okay.
Keep going.
When I found my voice, I knew that there was something more I could do, that I could help other people find their voice as well. And so, having joined this organization and worked my way through the leadership program, within 5 years of being in Toastmasters, I gained 4 promotions at BT.
Fantastic.
Yep. And those promotions meant that people were then recognizing me for the potential that I had. And I had recognized myself for that same potential. And that's one of the things I do with coaching. You cannot actually step into your power unless you recognize your potential and acknowledge it yourself. So in 2009, that was the day that, that was the year that I made the decision to leave the corporate world and start my own consultancy. And that was right in the middle of recession too, right? That was when everything was going haywire and the money was going crazy. And I made the decision that, hey, if I'm going to do this, I need to do this now, because I figured if I could make it through recession, I could still keep going. And here we are. We're 2024, and I'm still here, and I'm still helping people. I'm still helping people find their voice.
Sometimes these difficult times give you the strength. Does that make sense? It kind of gives you the strength to do something. If you're going to do it, you do it now. It's never.
Yes.
I was going to say maybe there's a Toastmasters club where you bring your pets with you.
I have actually had a couple of people. I think there's a guy in Ireland, Paul Amani, who believes that we should do that. We should have an animal club.
I messaged Paul last night, as it goes. He's got a club for golfers.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. Yeah. Lately.
So Michelle Obama said, "Don't complain, do something." I found this little post of yours. So there's a big event going on this month. In fact, later on this month. Can you tell us a little bit more about that event and why you're so passionate about that particular event?
So I have started collaborating with a lady named Patty Kennedy, and we have pulled together a program, and it's called Breakthrough Women. And it's actually a movement, and it's a chance for women to have a safe space to talk about their issues, to talk about the challenges that they face in the corporate world. And we're focusing specifically on executives, people who are either a senior executive, mid-management maybe, someone who is already in a position of high standing, but have found that they are still being shushed at the boardroom table, right? And so in order for us to help those individuals reclaim their voice and actually also step back into their power, we wanted to get them involved in the Breakthrough Women movement. We were going to run a retreat this October, but because of all the turmoil that's going on in the area, we've made a decision to postpone that for a year.
Oh, okay.
But that gives us a chance to kind of introduce even more women to the movement itself and get them on board through a group coaching session or through a Facebook group where we can sit and talk. And you would have to be approved to be a member of that group.
That's fantastic.
So we keep it succinct with those women in particular.
It's
Yeah, I mean,
it's a shame you've had to suspend it temporarily, right? But
we were really disappointed in having to do that, but we believe things happen for reasons, and we just need that part of the world to find peace. I think is the best way that I can say that, or at least get to a point where people feel safe to travel. And that's what we want. We don't want people to feel afraid to go somewhere where they think something bad might happen. And also, we had to think about this, with our an ethical mind on us, because it's one thing to have a retreat and try and get people to relax into their inner self, but it's difficult to do that when there's so much turmoil going on around you. So we felt it would be better timing to push it a year in advance.
that makes perfect sense. People's minds are focused on other things. You're never going to get the concentration and focus it requires.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to talk to you about your book there that you've got in the background. So I got a message. So where is it? There you go. Look, there you go.
There you go. You got yours. I got mine.
There you go. Look, it's shame on me, Teresa. Shame on me. I bought this book back in April.
Yeah.
Back in April, I think there's a 29th. I think Amazon says, and I didn't open the page until earlier this week. Right, and I was thinking, I have to read this before I meet up with Teresa because she's going to tell me off. All right. And I started reading, I'm thinking, this is a really good book. Why didn't I read this earlier? And I'm not just saying that. What I mean is, so as a Toastmaster, we like to structure our speeches. And this has already got a good structure that you can use, that you can do, not just in presentations at work, but in social skills and social places as well. So I could definitely do with this. So what I'm going to do, and this is me promising you now, Teresa, what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to rush it. I don't like to rush things. So I'm going to read a chapter and then apply the chapter. Then read the next chapter and then apply again. Let me talk about this book now, Teresa. What made you write this book?
Do you know, it took me 7 years to write this book. And I know that sounds like, oh my God, that's forever, right? But when I was going through my transition from secretary to coach, I built the business, and I figured within 2 years I actually figured within 6 months I'd be in the black, right? As they say. Oh, no, it doesn't work that way, right? It doesn't work that way. So it took me 2.5 years to actually make a profit, to get into that, or at least get into the black, get out of the red and get into the black. And one of the things that helped me do that, once I hit that 2.5 year period, I knew I had hit a plateau with my clients. I had gotten to a certain point where I wasn't going any further, and people weren't buying my services any longer, or they were, it was becoming apparent that I needed a kickstart to push me to the next level. And that's when I met Craig Valentine, and he's the 1999 world champion of public speaking. And he has this program called World Class Speaking Coach Certification Program. And I got an email from him, and I read it 3 times. It actually hit my inbox 3 times. The first year I said, no, I can't afford to do this. Second time I read it, I thought, oh yeah, I really should do this. And I sat on it. The third time I read it, I said, I cannot afford not to do this. And so that's when I made the decision to get certified through Craig Valentine as a coach, specifically a speaking coach, because that's my specialty. I love helping people uncover what their true talents are and actually be able to articulate their ideas really, really clearly, whether they're in a business one-to-one meeting or with a client, or they're with their boss, or they're delivering a presentation to people. So as soon as I was certified with his course, the first client I signed, I had a return on my investment times 3.
Wow.
And I knew that I was in the right place at that point. So the point of coaching isn't just to help other people, it's also finding ways that you can reach even more people than you do in just one-to-one. So I figured if I could write a book and make it easy to read, that I could also encourage people to come on a group coaching course with me to where we could work through 6 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever it is we want to work on, actually to be able to develop and deliver a speech that would work for them every single time they decide to write a speech.
That's
So that's the
fantastic.
point of the book.
Yeah.
But the title, the reason for the title is because when I took my steps into leadership, I had no idea how much I was going to have to speak. And there was a convention in Vegas that I went to,
Mm.
and there was this group called the Edge, Speaker's Edge, the Speaker's Edge. It was run by a lot of the champions at that point in time. And I was going to go to their event after the convention. And one of the other district directors kind of stopped me and they went, "Oh, Teresa, where are you going? What's going on? What's happening?" And I said, "I'm going off to this Speaker's Edge thing because I need to improve my speaking." And he says, "But you're a district director. You already speak."
Mm.
And I said, "But you, if you want to lead, you actually have to speak." I mean, that was one of the things, that's one of the quotes I put in the book as well.
Yeah.
So you can never, it's not like you stop learning once you get to a certain point in your life. I am what you would call a lifelong learner.
Mm.
So I knew that if I went to this group and I went to this workshop, that I was going to improve the way that I spoke. And it would help me as I moved my way forward even further within my life, within my coaching career, and within my time within this organization of Toastmasters. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That is a fantastic story. I think we forget that you are mumbling when you're born. You get to learn how to speak when you're about 3 years old or even younger, perhaps, depends on whether you're special or not. But but we don't really know how to communicate effectively until you find maybe the right teacher at school, maybe if you're lucky. But nowadays it feels more like a factory. I have to teach 20 people. I can't do individual tuition, right? So you basically get the average across the board. How do you become above average? And it's exactly what you said. Maybe you need to take the time to start fine tuning your communication skills, which is what we're talking about.
You know, and there's so many people that I work with that's exactly what they want to do. They say I know I'm good. I was actually talking to a new client before we got on this call, and I asked him, I said, "Well, what's stopping you? You're already delivering keynotes, you're already emceeing and everything." And he says, I said, "Why did you call me? Why did you want to work with me?" And he says, "I'm confident in what I'm doing. I can deliver a speech." He says, "But I'm only half baked.
Only half baked.
I'm only half baked. I'm not fully baked yet," which means that I need to improve the way I deliver my speeches, the way I build them, and the way I structure them
Mm.
so that I can actually take my career kick it up another level, just like I was trying to do.
So I think
Thank
I think
goodness.
the first step is actually self-realization, right? So self-realization, Teresa, I need help. You're
Yeah.
halfway there, right? And then the
Yeah.
second bit is, well, now that you've realized you're halfway there, yeah, what bits do you already do well? What bits do we need to improve upon? Because it's not always the case that you're starting from nothing. Yeah, in most cases, you're starting from a good foundation anyway. Maybe
Yeah.
that's
And the funny thing is, we sit here and we think, oh, we put all these things up on social media. Nobody's ever going to see them. With the way the algorithm is, nobody's going to see them. But he found me on LinkedIn. And the one thing I will say to people who really want to continue to build their career or find a new job or, become more visible is to actually utilize LinkedIn as effectively as possible. And the one new thing that I've done to my profile is I have put book a meeting with me on it. And you have access to my Calendly link, and you can find a time that suits you and me to have a conversation. And that's what this guy did.
That's fantastic.
So,
I do have one more question for you, Teresa. So what I was looking for is, there's a book called How to Read a Book. Believe it or not, there's a book called How to Read a Book.
you
But
open it.
it's like chicken and egg, right? So in order to read the book that tells you how to read a book, you need to read, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to have to go through that as well. But the point I was making there was, one thing I think you could do just to add something to your toolkit is convert this good book into an audio book. Yeah, so maybe
Exactly. Yeah.
you've already considered that. Is that something you've already considered?
That is on my tick list. That is on my little to-do list because I've got it in paperback,
Yeah.
and it's also in Kindle. So you can read it online or you can read it in your hands. I absolutely love being able to flick through a book when I've got a book. But yeah, the audio bit is a little more complicated. So by next summer, I should have it in audio version so that people can actually listen to it on Audible. Which, yeah, I know. I've had 3 people say to me, Teresa, when are you going to do it? I said, give me time. Got a lot of things going on.
Well, if you need help with that, Teresa, just tap me up. I'll be more than happy to support you in that.
Excellent, will do.
Now, I don't have any more questions. Is there anything you'd like to share with us? Maybe one tip. If there's one thing that I could do differently or the audience can do differently, what would that one thing be?
Do you know, I had somebody ask me to provide them with 5 career success tips, right? And I thought, 5? Why 5? That's a lot of tips, right? But I went back through a lot of things that I have done in the past and the advice that I have given to other people. And I say one of the biggest tips I can give anybody today is if you want to succeed and you want to be successful, you want to be in the limelight, you want people to recognize you or to acknowledge you, then you need to start blowing your own trumpet. And I know that sounds like a very big Americanism because, we do blow our own trumpets, right? America isn't afraid to say, I am really good at this, aren't I? Yeah. But I want you to realize that when you identify what your specialty is, what your superpower is, what your gift is, there is no reason for you to hide it under a bushel. It's a chance for you to share it with other people. So start shouting about it. Tell people what you're good at. Recognize when they say, hey, I'm coming to you because I know you are fantastic at pulling together events. So come and help me, do that. By doing that, they're gonna remember you because you're going to be giving of yourself as well as teaching them maybe something new. So blow your own trumpet, stay visible, and just keep talking. That's what I would say.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Teresa Dukes. Well done. Thank you so much. I wish you success with your book. I wish you success next year with this event that you're organizing. So, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, please join us for this Centennial event that we've got planned in October 19th. It's a 20-hour meeting. Amazing, 20 hours, 100 speakers. Scan the barcode or the QR code over here and we'll see you at the event. Thank you and have a great day.